Yesterday, John Iadarola and I covered a story involving Symone Sanders, who used to work for Bernie Sanders' campaign back in 2016 and now works for Joe Biden. Now, she had an interview on CNN with Erin Burnett that really stood out to me because Erin Burnett asked her a very legitimate question. You used to support Medicare for all, you no longer do. Now you want an expansion of the Affordable Care Act. Can you explain why? And she didn't really have an explanation. She just accused Erin Burnett of gotcha journalism. We're gonna show you that clip again in just a minute. But I was shocked to find that Symone Sanders alleged, or at least implied, that we were targeting her because of the fact that she's a black woman. And our conversation had absolutely nothing to do with that. It focused solely on policy. And so she did this in the form of a tweet. She responded to the Young Turks Twitter account, which said the following: Symone Sanders, former Bernie Sanders press secretary, used to be for Medicare for all. Now, as a Biden advisor, her positions on Medicare for all have changed. Why is that, we wonder? John Iadarola and Anna Kasparian discuss now on TYT Live. Now, I just wanna note that when she responded to that, it was while the show was still happening, and the clip had not been uploaded on YouTube yet. So I don't think that she watched the live, and I don't think she saw it would be impossible for her to watch the clip because it hadn't been published yet. But nonetheless, she wrote the following: literally trying to figure out why some progressive media is intent on trying to make me the boogeyman. You liked me when I worked for who you wanted, now you don't, and I wonder why. Leave me alone and focus on the task at hand. And then she followed that with, you're going to get enough of demonizing black women because you don't like the work we do. You are not the arbiters of what is necessary or appropriate. Your time may be better spent doing work, getting off the sidelines than critiquing those of us actually working. So, actually, it's funny because I didn't even notice like the stuff about, insulting the work we do until now, because I couldn't believe that she implied that we were attacking her based on the color of her skin. It had nothing to do with that. So Cenk, I wanna show you what she had said on CNN, my analysis, and then we'll have a discussion about it.
I've got strong thoughts here, but we'll get to that in a second.
Just stay calm. I don't want to demonize anyone, but at the same time, I think that using race as a cudgel is a really bad idea. Take a look.
For anyone to suggest that because I work for Vice President Biden, now I feel differently, that's just not true. I welcome a conversation.
No, I want to be clear.
No, but I want to be clear.
I'm not suggesting you feel differently. I'm suggesting, hold on, but Symone, let me say why I played that. No, I want to be clear.
Because I do feel some type of way.
Let me finish my sentence. Hold on. I didn't say it to do a gotcha. I said it because what you said then is different than what you're saying now. You're a thoughtful, smart person. You've changed your mind. And I want to give you a chance to explain to people why.
Because, Aaron, I believe in building on the enormous success of Obamacare. But the plan that is currently on the table that is being discussed by a number of folks when they talk about Medicare for all, specifically Senator Sanders' plan, does not do that.
So, we responded to that by specifically comparing the two policies. And my issue was the way the conversation was framed in the first place. So take a look at the analysis. This is a short snippet. We can't show you the whole clip, but I suggest you should watch the whole clip so you know the context of the entire conversation. Take a look. Why is everyone so married to the Affordable Care Act, knowing that it had so many major flaws? So the way that I see this, and the way that the establishment and the media are trying to frame this is, oh, they want to repeal the Affordable Care Act, right? And then you're gonna have nothing. You're gonna have nothing as this debate goes on about Medicare for all. I mean, it's a big risk. No, that's not what's gonna happen. The Affordable Care Act, as flawed as it is, especially now that the mandate has been repealed, will remain intact, but you push for Medicare for all to replace that system. I mean, you can argue that it expands that system. It's the ultimate expansion of the Affordable Care Act because it's a single payer system that covers everything. The conversation was about policy.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah, and so all right, Symone has given us a lot to talk about. So number one, even in her first appearance on Erin Burnett, I was not on the show when you guys were analyzing it, but looking at it now, she says it's a gotcha question. No, it's not. It's a simple question. You were for this policy before, and you're not. Like for example, you could do that with me. Hey, Cenk, you were for the death penalty and now you're not. Why? I gotcha. No, that's an easy answer because the Innocence Project got dozens of people off of death row. And turns out we were killing innocent people. Well, I didn't sign up for that. I'm out. You say I should have known that before? You're right. I should have known that before. That I was wrong about that. That's not that hard. You just say it, right? If you had a true change of mind for reasons that are definable, it's not remotely a gotcha question. So she doesn't like the question, and it really got under her skin when Erin Burnett asked it, and we talked about it. Why? Because I'm not sure she did change her mind. And so now, if you notice, she did a reference to get off the sidelines and get off, and you would know if you were working like us, right? Wait, what does that mean? First of all, I don't know that anybody thinks we're on the sidelines. I'll get back to that. If
anything, we get criticized a lot because of the fact that we work in media and there's an advocacy arm to the company which promotes Justice Democrats. I mean, you've been doing revolution rallies. So it's not like we sit in a comfy cushion, well, I'm certainly not comfy or cushy studio, pretending as if we care about these issues. There's actually action behind these issues.
So,
and even if this was all we did, this is a taxing job. It's not an easy thing to do, but it's just whatever. Who cares about that? Yeah. That insult, it is what it is.
No, but I want to tell you why she said it, right? Because it makes no sense at all. Not only are we criticized for being too involved, even though we're in media, as Anna pointed out, but I helped start the Just Democrats, and the Democrats yell at us every single day for being too involved, like that. So why did she say it? She said it because she's got to work for a living, right? And I get it, and I'm somewhat sympathetic to her, like in the sense that all these folks have to find a job. If you're in politics and you don't have the benefit of being in the media, such as it is, right? Now, if you were on TV, you make a lot of money, et cetera, right? But they got to go find the next job. And so she worked for Bernie Sanders, and Bernie Sanders has different positions than Joe Biden. Then she had to take a job with Joe Biden. So now the thing is, that puts her in a really difficult position. And so when you ask her about it, she gets super touchy. And now you could say it's easy for people to say, hey, you shouldn't have taken the job with Joe Biden. And I can say that, and I do say that. On the other hand, like, do you never work for someone who isn't progressive? There's only there's a couple of progressives running for president.
I got you, Cenk.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Of course I see what you're saying. First off, let me just note that between these two elections, she did have a job as a contributor for cable news,
but
right?
She got that job because she works in politics.
I get it.
And it's a revolving door. She's got to go back and be relevant, and then et cetera.
I get it. And what I'm saying though is, you know that you're going to get that question at some point. Erin Burnett is not some raging progressive. Erin Burnett is, I guarantee you, very joyful about the fact that you no longer support Medicare for all, right? So it's not like she's coming to you from like enemy territory trying to get you. So you gotta have an answer for that question. Now, am I gonna believe what she's gonna say? Like, let's say, I even gave a suggestion yesterday during that clip. I was like, look, a better way to handle that is to just remain composed and say, look, I think that it's a much more practical effort to try to expand the Affordable Care Act as opposed to push for something that's being branded as communism by the right wing. I mean, I'm not buying that argument, but at least that's something that's going to make it seem as though, oh, she's got a legitimate argument here. Okay, great. But instead, she just decided to blame Erin Burnett for gotcha journalism. And then when we analyze the two policies and critique the way she handled it on the show, she goes after us and tries to allege or imply that it's racially motivated. You just defended a candidate who bragged about working with segregationists and helped those segregationists defeat busing. I'm the racist?
No. Look, I don't think she even means it. And if you think I'm defending her, wait, hold.
I thought, yeah, I was worried you were gonna be too harsh.
Hold, okay. So look, one more here. Look, that's why I want progressives to win. That's why I want Just Democrats to win. Because I think in a different Washington, Symone Sanders works for progressives, means it, fights for wonderful legislation like Medicare for all and helps to get it passed. But Washington is so systematically corrupted that if you're gonna go work there, 90% of the jobs makes you work for people like Joe Biden, and then you gotta go out there and do things that are super hard, like say, well, maybe working with segregationists back in the day could have made sense, and maybe Medicare for all that would give healthcare to everybody is not a good idea, and that's that's a super tough spot to be in. And we're asking everybody to be principled. And so she's not gonna like this. She's gonna say, are you saying I'm not principled?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm trying to be as nice as I can be, right? I know you gotta take a job, but the constant change in positions is not that helpful when it's guided by the job that you have as opposed to an actual change in opinion, which then now finally we get to the race part, right? So I think too many people are throwing it around, and so I'll even criticize some of the Just Democrats here. So just AOC mentioned, and I know she didn't mean it in this way, she later clarified, but that Nancy Pelosi was helping too much in people who were attacking the Just Democrats who were young women of color, okay? And it came across as saying Nancy Pelosi's doing it because of race. And I don't think she meant it that way. And again, she did clarify later that she did not mean it that way.
She was specifically asked by a reporter from The Hill whether she thought Nancy Pelosi was racist, and she said unequivocally, absolutely not. What she meant was that these women of color are already the target of all sorts of threats, and Nancy Pelosi's public statements about them exacerbated it.
Yeah, so now, by the way, I actually think Nancy Pelosi is not racist and is obviously not sexist, but is derisive towards them because they're young. That part I think is absolutely true, okay? And like, these young people that haven't been corrupted yet. Well, okay, once you mature, you'll know you should take corporate money and serve their interests and change all of your opinions and just keep your posters down in the basement, okay? So we can have that conversation. But then the Congressional Black Caucus turns around and criticizes the Just Democrats for being racist. What? 6 out of this, no, all 7 Justice Democrats are people of color in Congress, right? So what are they talking about? Lacey Clay's like, well, they're running against me and I'm in the Congressional Black Caucus. But the Just Democrat running against you is also black.
Exactly,
right?
Yeah.
So that makes no sense at all. So now, the problem when Lacey Clay does it, and honestly in this case, Symone, out of the blue, having nothing to do with the topic, throws that in there. And I'm trying to be fair and say it about everybody, right? You're lessening the impact when guys like Trump actually do it and do it all the time. Then people go, I'm tired of it. Look, I'm even exhausted talking about it. But we're forced to because the right wing keeps doing atrocious things over and over again.
Right.
And we've got to protect one another, and we've got to make sure unarmed black men aren't shot. And then when Kaepernick protests that he's not smeared. And then when Ilhan Omar steps up and Rashida Tlaib and all of those others and protects people of color and says those kids that you got locked up, we got to make sure that they get out of those camps, etc. We got to stick together. But when everybody's throwing this stuff around, it makes the general population think, none of them mean any of it. Trump, he doesn't mean it either. Look at, it's used so often wrongly in so many different instances that it doesn't mean anything anymore. So that doesn't help anybody. If you're gonna come after us, and there's 1,000 things to come after us on. You know how much people disagree with us? So you wanna say, we're too purist. We actually want these bills passed. Instead, we should get bills passed that are a quarter loaf. How about it, Hoss? Okay, that's my framing on it. You could have a different framing on it, etc. We've had 1,000 insults, but and it's a funny kind of thing, and I'm sure Symone isn't going to take it this way. And personally, she's a wonderful person, okay? And I know her, and she's a little bit, and she's been great to me personally, so it isn't personal at all, right? I even ran into her in the Miami debate. We had a lovely conversation, etc. But and I know she's not going to take it this way, but Symone, you're doing more damage to yourself than you are to us, because this makes no logical sense. And then people go, that's flailing, right? So don't do that. We know you got to take a job somewhere, but you can come up with and you're really gonna hate this, but I think you're better than this. And I think you can come up with reasons for your policy positions and for supporting Joe Biden at the same time. Like what you see? Click the subscribe button below and don't forget to ring the bell to never miss another video from the Young Turks.